and then turn on the camera. Once video starts recording, give an intro with a cold open. Cold open? How the hell do I do a cold open? Oh, hang on. Okay. This is a 1998 Godzilla figurine that I picked up a while ago, but it was not working. So what I did is take the whole thing apart, mess around with it, get out a whole bunch of dust that was on the inside, and the battery connections I just cleaned up, and now it does this. I love those sound effects. Okay, let's talk about books. Welcome back to Tau Zero SF. I'm your host, Keith Fletcher. Now that's out of the way, and we can actually get back to a regular schedule and not a random one. Mainly because I was working non-stop during the summer, but that's a different matter. We don't have to go into that one right now. But it's a slow season for me, and I can focus on this. So why not just do a book haul video? Everyone loves those because we all want to know about titles that people are picking up and some of the things we don't know about. I mean, I could go into, I picked up a copy of Children of Dune by Frank Herbert, in a wonderful Berkeley edition, because it matches my other copy of Dune and Dune Messiah, but you don't need to hear about those. We are going to do the fun stuff, the stuff that people aren't really talking about, the rarities, and even some special editions. So, with that being said, and the fact that the next part I totally did not film 3 weeks ago, I'll see you guys with the magic of editing over there. So, let's begin. Now, I've been picking up some cyberpunk novels, just so I can have more of an experience with the field outside of William Gibson and Pat Cadigan. So things like Cybernetic Samurai by Victor Milan. How do you create a cyberpunk title? That is easy. You combine the old with the new. Cybernetic Samurai. Virtual Zen by Ray Nelson, author of the short story 8 O'Clock in the Morning, which became They Live, which I really enjoy. Some people don't, but I find They Live an entertaining movie. It's taken on a cult status with some people. And another cyberpunkish novel, Ribofunk. What is Ribofunk? Well, it's sort of like riboflavin. If riboflavin had that funky, low-down, dirty groove that people enjoy, this is a Paul DeFilippo book. Welcome to a future that will swallow you whole. Oh, I don't want to be in that kind of future. I'm kind of fat enough as it is. I've also been picking up Norman Spinrad novels when I find them. Bugjack Baron, one of these seminal new wave books that you can come across. This is a rather beat up copy, but perfectly readable, pages aren't falling out. A World Between, published by Bantam Spectra. Just look at that. Don't you want to wear your Tom Selleck mustache standing next to Counselor Troy? I know I do. The Ring of Ritornell by Charles L. Harness, author of The Paradox Men and The Rose. Wonderful stuff. And it's a very fantastic looking cover. Look at this text block. Very nice and vibrant. Now, I've never read any Charles L. Harness yet, so I'm very excited to read this. I'm still trying to find a copy of The Rose in order to start there, or Paradox Men. But if I don't, I'll start reading on this one. I've been an anthology kick. I love my sci-fi anthologies. Where else can you get a potentially great story combined with a mediocre one for a low, low price? And I picked up Continuum, Volumes 1 and 4. Please, YouTube, ignore some of the artwork here. It's just fantastic to look at. Now, these are Star editions, published by Wyndham? Yes, published by Wyndham. And why spend the money for 8 novels when you can only spend money for 4? Because that's the concept here. 8 different books being published over 4 volumes. Emma Cathry, Edgar Pangborn, Paul Anderson, and Philip Jose Farmer, along with Thomas Scortia, Gene Wolfe, and Chad Oliver, with a rotating guest authors doing a round-robin tale, starting off of Dinar Kuntz, Volume 4, Ending Things, with Barry Ann Malsberg. I need to find Volumes 2 and 3, and I'd love to get them in this livery. They are available in a different kind of livery, but this is such amazing art. The Suicide Plague. Ooh, my favorite. Here we have a futuristic noir mystery by Ed Hanna, published by Abandon. I'm very curious what this is about. If anyone's read this, let me know. Because all we have are these, like, Mick Jagger lookalikes. Does it have to do with cloning? Who knows? I'm curious. By Jack Vance, we have The Languages of Pow. In this rather petite Ace edition. It is smaller than a typical A format. Let's take a look. But this is one of Vance's more famous books, and it's in my TBR pile. What's worse than space and being trapped in it when you're surrounded by vampires? Space Vampires by Colin Wilson in this okay Granada Panther edition. Does this plot look familiar? Asteroids, vampires, coming back to Earth. It should, for some film fans, because that's Life Force. This is the adaptation of the book to a movie directed by Tobe Hooper. And Life Force is some crazy, crazy fun. It's not as good as Poltergeist, but I enjoy it a lot. There's so many cameos by actors you recognize. Ever want to see Patrick Stewart die in a very stupid helicopter death? Then Life Force is right up your alley. And you can never go wrong with canon. Now, what is better than one robot novel, such as Henry Kuttner's The Proud Robot, published by Hamlin? Well, 2 robot novels, both with amazing covers by the Chris's, Chris Moore and Chris Voss. I was very happy to come across these. Actually, there's some things I want to talk about with Proud Robot. It's not a fix-up book. It is a short story collection with this Gallagher character. The role model for Marvin the Paranoid Android, I thought that was Robert Sheckley's role in order to get ripped off. Co-written with C.L. Moore, and originally published as a Lewis Paget book. Robots Have No Tails. Can't wait to read this one. But with the Bicentennial Man, this is probably the Isaac Asimov collection that I've wanted for a long time. I could never find a copy, and so I'm pretty happy with this one. These are all mid-70s Asimov tales. I believe one of them is a Susan Calvin story, actually. Has anyone read The Bicentennial Man? Let me know down in the comments. And which cover do you like more? Or which cover artist? Chris Moore or Chris Fox? We love our end-of-the-world apocalypse novels. Novels such as Brian Elsa's Greybeard, involving no more children being born and humanity aging. Well, along that vein, Twilight of Briareus by Richard Cooper, spelt Cowper, pronounced Cooper. And who doesn't like a floating sentient baby head flying towards Earth to possibly make us evolve? Who knows? I know it's set around wintertime, and it is a novel that I'm putting on my December TBR. I'm very curious to read this. What do you think of Richard Cooper? Let me know. My cat just came into the room. Hi, I'm busy. Oh, she's so grumpy. Look at her. Okay, down you go. That was Susie. Immortality Inc., the basis for Free Jack. This is a Robert Sheckley book. We got KW Jeter saying hipster art of bending your mind with a few words. Oh, I don't know about that. But it is one of the more popular Sheckley novels. And what is Free Jack? Well, I'm glad you asked. Because this is Free Jack. I still own my VHS tape from way back in the day. Ever want to see Mick Jagger rocking out in hardcore bondage hockey gear trying to kill Emilio Estevez? Oh, you can't go wrong. From the director of Top Guns 2, Anthony Hopkins. This is one crazy silly film. If you ever just want to sit back with friends, enjoy a six-pack, and just laugh at a silly sci-fi movie, I definitely recommend Free Jack. It is a silly, fun time. But how close is it to the novel? This I need to find out. So, if anyone has read this, let me know. Slowly I've been improving my Michael Moorcock collection, and along the vein of the Jerry Cornelius books, it's his sister, Catherine Cornelius, The Adventures of Una Person and Catherine Cornelius in the 20th Century, published by Granada. I'm not sure if this is a fix-up book by Moorcock. They do seem to be separated into episodic format, in which our heroines give themselves up once again to the tides of time. One interesting thing I have found about this book is not the book itself, more or less, it's actually the smell. Whoever owned this before me smoked pretty expensive pipe tobacco. This is it's not a bad thing. This is a very pleasant smell. But please don't smoke around your books. It's not convenient for the next person. If this smelled like cheap cigarettes, I would not have bought it. But very rich, earthy kind of smell to it. It's not bad. Someone had some taste. Do you think your school projects are bad trying to work with a group? Well, try doing it by mail. We have Michael Bishop and Ian Watson's novel that they wrote via mail, Under Heaven's Bridge, in this fantastic Ace edition. Now, Fair's Fair, you might have seen some of these stickers, but Fair's Fair is one of the big used bookstores in Calgary. And no one likes these stickers. They're impossible to try to get off. If you notice some cards on the inside, that's what they do now. There's so much just negativity that people want to take these off. I'm glad they switched. Also, this is what you should do with short people. Hold them up high. Let the light of the universe just shine from them down onto your enemies below. Have you read Under Heaven's Bridge? I do have some Ian Watson novels, and a couple Michael Bishop's. Should I throw this in the TBR right now, or just wait for it to come up when I do a book spin? Let me know. Speaking of Michael Bishop, The Secret Ascension, or Philip K. Dick is Dead Alas. I was very happy to find this book. I actually found this in a shop that sold baseball cards. They also advertised they had a book selection. So when I went in, it was just walls of Terry Goodkind books. But this was amongst a pile. Went just before I was about to give up. So it made that trip worthwhile. This is right now in my TBR. I think it's book 20 I have in that pile. So I can't wait to get around to Michael Bishop. Is there a different Michael Bishop book that I should read before The Secret Ascension? Let me know in the comments. The Sex Sphere? I thought they closed that place down. I found some Rudy Rucker books over the last bit of summer. Software, part of a Cyberpunk tetralogy that he wrote. I believe it includes wetware, hardware, and freeware. I think hardware might be the fourth one. First Life After Death, then Illusions, and now White Light. Oh no, do I want to see God? I'm not ready for that. I need to do so much more with my life. It was a love between a mad scientist and a degenerate speck of hypermatter. But when that speck of hypermatter is named Babs, you know you're in for a bad time. Have you read any of these Rudy Rucker books? I'm very curious. I kind of want to start a sex here, just see what's happening up in there. But should I start it with a different one? We shall see. Moving on. Involution Ocean by Bruce Sterling in the Harlan Ellison Discovery series. This is like number 5 in my TBR right now. It's pretty high up. I want to get to this. And The Artificial Kid by Bruce Sterling. And Mirror Shades, the seminal cyberpunk anthology. I'm very happy to find this at a good price too. Came all the way from Saskatchewan. And it is a 9th printing, so that's probably why it's a bit more affordable. But let's take a look at the contents here. We have Gibson, Pat Cadigan, Rudy Rucker. I don't know anything about Tom Maddox. Mark Laidlaw, James Patrick Kelly, Greg Bear, our old friend Louis Shiner, John Shirley, Paul DeFilippo reappears, and 2 other novels with 2 other stories with Sterling and co-authors Gibson and Louis Shiner. Very interesting. I need a bit more cyberpunk under my belt before I get around to Mirror Shades, I think. Or should I do the reverse? Now, one thing I found very important is, coming out of academia, understanding history and understanding methodology. So, I need good secondary sources. Which is where this comes in. Now I know you're wondering, Tau, isn't this just a monolith? Well, sort of. It's actually a Gollancz edition of Brian W. Aldiss's Trillion Years Free, co-written with David Wingrove. Some channels have been talking about this as a book to get a hold of. I was very happy to get this at a price that was under 3 digits. because it's actually signed. Special edition, limited to 100 numbered copies. This is copy number 56. That's Brian W. Aldis's signature and David Wingrove's signature. There's also an introduction that's only for this edition. He never did get around to writing Zillion Spree, though, unfortunately. But he did leave us with a recipe for the Trillion Year cocktail. And just judging by this, that is going to be a fun time just for two people. I have gotten roughly around chapter 5 right now. I'm right before everything starts to take off. Looking at the prehistory. Where am I? Yeah, I'm at Barsoom and the Borderlands, Swords, Sorceries, and Zitadars. This is such a great book. I'm learning so much about the history of science fiction, so I definitely recommend it. You don't necessarily need this copy. You can just get a cheaper one. But if you want something that's on the shelf, not going to fall apart, and using it for research and building a collection, definitely go for this one. Adam Roberts' Salt. Ever since Book Pill to talk about Salt, this has been almost impossible to find used. I used to be able to find this quite easily. Then once Book Pill review for Salt came out, almost impossible. I had to order this online, and not from Canada, not from the United States. I had to order this from Ireland for a reasonably priced copy. But I'm very glad. I was hoping for a paperback and they sent me a hardcover. I think that's good in my books. Now, one book that I read recently, Jude Merrill's England Swings SF. Probably the seminal anthology for the new wave, back when it was a brand new thing. And it seems like everyone's hedging their bets here. Is it a mind-stretching, nerve sizzling adventure? Or is it doubtful that it will leave any impact on traditional SF? Well, you tell me. I more or less enjoyed this collection. There are some stories that just did not sit well with me, that I found either on the pretentious side. I found Michael Butterworth's The Baked Bean Factory just to be a little bit ludicrous. Hall of the Machines, though, by Langdon Jones, that was amazing. Christopher Priest's run was great, and Barrington J. Bailey's All the King's Men, about Earth being divided amongst aliens to have different rulers, and then engaged in kind of a mock battles. It was very good. Hilary Bailey, Michael Moorcock's The Mountain was enjoyable as well. And of course, the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy considered as a downhill motor race, plus a plan for assassination of Jacqueline Kennedy. Those are two different stories by Ballard. With the third one, you mean the continuum. I enjoyed it overall. I would say pick this up if you find it. Anthologies are usually hit or miss. This one is more hit than miss. One of the original fix-up novels, A.E. Van Vogt, The World in All A. This is a late 90s tour edition. I found this to be a very enjoyable read, if uneven. As a fix-up novel, the stories kind of stop and start. It's good until about the middle. It's being built around going back and forth between Earth and Venus and back to Earth, involving interstellar conspiracy, as well as possible cloning, enhanced intelligence, artificial intelligence. Overall, I really liked the book. I'm curious about where it's going because it does end on a cliffhanger, and I believe there are 2 sequels. But A. Van Vogt's prose, it was a lot better than most Golden Age writers. If you like it, let me know. We'll talk about it. I want to do a proper review on this. Lightning Round. D.G. Compton, The Unsing Eye, published by DAW. Octavia E. Butler, Pattern Master. I was really happy to find this. It's so hard to find an Octavia Butler book that is not in the new livery and is vintage. Moonbane by Al Sorrentino. Do you want alien werewolves or were-aliens, alien wolves to battle NASA? This is up your alley then. I really want to read this. Don't let your eyes fool you. This is not Blade Runner. No Harrison Ford, no Philip K. Dick. This is The Blade Runner by Alan E. Norse, where the title originally originates from. You can find online how exactly the movie Blade Runner ended up with this title, involving a treatment by William S. Burroughs. But considering how hard it is to find out, finding it for $5 at Paris Fair, that was fantastic. I'm going on vacation soon to Vancouver Island. And what is Vancouver Island but Michael G. Coney land? I'm taking along with me Tallahassee Tide. Do you know that name? Well, you should. You know it by Rax or Hello Summer Goodbye, published in the UK. This is just the Canadian edition, published in 1990 under an alternate title. I'm not too much of a fan of the cover art, though. It ranges from being very good to what is happening with her face. 2 Sphere editions of Michael G. Coney, Friends Come in Boxes, and Winter's Children. I have Winter's Children on my December TBR. And if you read Friends Come in Boxes, let me know. It seems like a very interesting plot. Falling birth rates, brains going into children's bodies, prolonging life, the kind of things that I'm interested in my speculative fiction. The Void Captain's Tale by Norman Spinrad in a book club edition. What a good looking gent. Robert Holdstock, Mythico Wood, published by Gollings in their Fantasy Masterworks. Less Than Human by Robert Clark. What is this? That's not More Than Human. Who is Robert Clark? Well, if you look in the back, he's a failed author who choked to death eating fried chicken in a restaurant. But if you look at the contents page, it's written by Charles Platt, the New Wave SF author. So, might be a satire on some of the things happening in SF around the 80s, especially with some of the titles of this Robert Clark's novels. Childhood's Troopers, The Time Merchants. I think we know what we're in for here. And more books need a time-space flowchart for where the characters are. I don't have this in my TBR right now. It's in my book spinner. But when this comes up, I'm really curious. J.G. Ballard. We know him. We love him. But I wouldn't consider myself a Ballardian, at least not yet. I've only encountered J.G. Ballard mostly through his short stories. I did recently read The Wind from Nowhere, his first novel that has been suppressed by both J.G. Ballard and his estate. So since his publication in 1974, it's not been available in English. I don't know why. I really enjoyed it overall. I don't think it is as strong as The Drowned World, which I also recently read. But as a first novel, it was fast-paced, end of the world, but definitely not as deep as The Drowned World in this wonderful Carroll and Graf late 80s edition that I wanted to own, instead of trying to find it in this penguin livery, just because of the iguana on the front. It's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable for, the death of humanity. In an earlier Penguin edition, The Drought. If it ever happened, it could be very like this. Well, let's hope not. On the cover, I believe is a salt crystal. I used to think it was a pyramid until I took a very closer look at it, but now that I finished the Drowned World, I can get to the Drought, and eventually to the Crystal World, which I have behind me. Next, we have New Writings in SF3, published by Bantam. Short stories coming from the UK, sometimes of American authors, and all original, at least that's the concept, to these books. This Frederick Pohl one is actually previously published. I definitely enjoyed reading New Writings. The Subways of Tazal by Colin Capp, though, I could have gone without. Colin Capp was an engineer, and it shows in his level detail. But the actual style he's writing in is feeling a little old-fashioned. Like the 1950s, the late 40s. It's not keeping up with the times in that era. We have a Keith Roberts story, Baltimore's Canaries, and John Kingston, who's also Keith Roberts. Neither of those are his real name, though. I'll put it right here about what his real name is. Night Watch by James Inglis. Now, James Inglis, he didn't write much. I think he wrote 2 stories and kind of disappeared off the face of the planet. And Night Watch deals with a Voyager-type probe being sent out by humanity to the stars to report back on everything it finds. It is a story about entropy, the heat death of the universe, what does intelligence mean, especially in the concept of it being the point of view of a space probe. But overall, I really enjoyed the New Writings in SF, which is why I picked up 3 more volumes. There are 30 in total. I think all channels need a goal. I want to collect all 30. But these ones are corgis. And I know the corgi is a dog. I didn't realize the little symbol, which can be hard to look at. It's actually a little corgi dog holding a book in its mouth. I like that. It's volume 5, volume 12. We have an M. John Harrison tale in there. Brian W. Aldiss. And David S. Garrett. Ooh, I will be talking about David S. Garrett shortly. These were wonderful, and I can't wait to collect all 30. Don't let this cover fool you. It might look like an uninviting death moon, but it's actually humorous, short sci-fi stories. A Martian wants to marry my daughter. Well, who am I to judge? If they like each other, that's okay. Harry Harrison, Santa Salem. This actually a story that's in the Siberian. James Blish. And nothing says laugh out loud funny like a Barry N. Malzberg story. What a delightful comedic premise. Huh. Must be side slapping. The best of C.M. Kornbluth. The best of Jack Williamson. And the best of James Blish. I'm halfway through, I believe, of collecting the Valentine Del Rey works in the Best Of series for their classic science fiction. But look at this book club edition of C.M. Kornbluth. That is just crazy. Jacket painting by Gary Veskupik. I can't wait to get to these. I really like these editions. I've been reading some of these James Blish stories so far. Definitely recommend this one at the moment. Do you like Snow Queens? Who doesn't? But move aside, Elsa, we have Joan D. Vengi. Now, this is a trilogy or tetralogy of books. There might be a fourth one of the Snow Queen, the World's End, and the Summer Queen. And the Snow Queen, I believe, won the Hugo Award. Yes, it did. It is a seminal space opera, from what I'm told at least. If you've read the Snow Queen, should I throw in my TBR at the moment, or just wait for it to spin up and I can enjoy this collection? Now this one infuriated me, because I wanted to get this Modern Library edition of the Selected Stories of H.G. Wells that I saw on Amazon, and right away I know something is wrong. Modern Library does not have a border around their books. Modern Library has more of a copper tone to this brassy color. Modern Library does not have this weird divide in the middle of the book again. Yes, you guessed right. It is manufactured print on demand. When did Modern Library go print on demand? Now, back when I was doing academia, you had Penguin Classics, you had Oxford World's Classics, and Modern Library was probably the third choice amongst professors to have students read from. This is disappointing to me. Yeah, I mean, it's still going to have the same contents overall. That's fine, but it's just disheartening to see more print on demand happening. Get ready for a giant pile of Michael Moorcock. That's right. We have Elric of Melniboné. Spelt Melniboné, pronounced Melniboné. And it took a surprising long time to try to find the first 6 volumes of this set. And I didn't even succeed in finding all the DAWs. This one's a Berkeley edition, but some very nice artwork on the front, and it's definitely in a lot better condition than some of these. But I want to get over my fantasy hesitation and just enjoy a good story well told. I have Elric of Melniboné in my TBR right now, and if I enjoy enough, I might just do a binge. And this one, Fortress of the Pearl, takes place in between these books. I'm not sure where. Stormbringer is the last novel. Any other Elric book published after this is somehow in here. It's a confusing timeline. I hope to sort it out. Stephen E. Andrews at Outlog Bookseller did a video on it that I recommend, and I'll link it in the description below if you're interested in Elric of Melniboné. The Holy Machine by Chris Beckett. Interzone, the 4th anthology. Tales from the Interzone magazine in the UK. There's a Kim Newman story. I've never read Kim Newman. I just know him from talking about movies. J.G. Ballard, Barrington J. Bailey, John Sladek. Very good collection. I think this is the last volume, and there's 3 before this. There might be a best of Interzone. Pulsar 1. Do you want to be like this guy flying with his friend through the stratosphere? Because I know I don't. I think they're in for a rough time. But it is a collection of stories. A. Van Vogt, Ian Watson, Bob Shaw, Michael Coney again. And an article by Chris Boyce. Interesting. He never did write a bunch of SF. I'll be very curious to read that. Extended interview with Chris Evans, too. Do you own Pulsar 1 or Pulsar 2? Let me know. How good is this? Associational work with SS authors. Here is the House of Fear. A bunch of haunted house and ghosts in the house tales. Why is it here? Well, for who contributed to this volume. Lisa Tuttle, Stephen Vogt, Gary Kilworth, Nina Allen, Chris Fowler, Christopher Priest, a Christopher Priest haunted house tale, Sign Me Up, Eric Brown, and Nicholas Royal. I love a good haunted house story. This is definitely going in my October TBR pile. Now, the internet loves Bob Shaw right now, so here's some fantastic Bob Shaw in excellent condition. Terminal Velocity, originally published as Vertigo. The Extended Shadow of Heaven. Fire Pattern. The Peace Machine, also originally published as, I believe, Ground Zero Man. And The Wooden Spaceships, part of his Ragged Astronauts trilogy. Or maybe it's a tetralogy. I'm trying to remember offhand. But these all come from a store in Calgary called the Sentry Box. Now, the Sentry Box has been around for, well over 35 years, almost 40 years. They deal in science fiction, fantasy, and horror, although they mainly deal in D&D games and Magic the Gathering, as well as board games. But some of the novels on their shelves, and that collection of novels is also shrinking down rapidly with more and more people buying. But they've been on those shelves probably since they were published. These have age wear, but completely unread. So this is what they call old new stock. Love those they're Graftons. I thought they were Granadas for a second. Also at Sentry Box, Master of Life and Death by Robert Silverberg, probably my favorite still living SF author. But I love my inclusions, and this has an interesting one. Conversation 5 at the Carriage House Inn in Calgary, special guest Robert Silverberg. So when Sentry Box put this book on the shelf, that was a little ad for an upcoming convention then. I love this. He's just having the time of his life, just chilling out on that bookmark there. July 22nd to 24th, 1988. I was 3 years old. Definitely could not go then. David S. Garrett, Zenith 2, the best in new British science fiction. What a lineup. We got Storm Constantine, or is it Constantine? Can't quite remember offhand. Ian McDonald, S.M. Baxter, Gary Kilworth, Eric Brown, Jojo Bling, interesting name, Lisa Tuttle, Simon Ings, Michael Moorcock, and Brian Stableford. This was at Sentry Box as well, but this made me want to find Zenith 1. Now for some of the really nice things that I found. The Golden Fleece by Robert J. Sawyer, his first novel. Not too exciting in and of itself. It came from Fair's Fair, but it's signed by Robert J. Sawyer. That was a lot of fun. And then it happened again at Fair's Fair, with a signed Robert J. Sawyer. For Kathy and Bonnie with best wishes, well, they lost out. It's on my shelf now. Metrophage. I ordered this off Amazon because I could not find the old Ace edition. I did not know it was going to come as a signed anniversary edition, though. So there's Richard Cadry's signature. And there's Richard Cadry himself. It's a Cyberpunk tale that's going to go in my Cyberpunk collection for when I get around to it. 2 more and then we are done. Here's one of the latest books I picked up. I got this at the Next Page in Calgary for $5. It's Frederick Pohl's The Gold at Starbow's End, published by Panther. Not very exciting in and of itself, but for $5, I'll take a signed Frederick Pohl. Someone fell asleep at the wheel on that one. Poor Lee. Man, some signatures, I tell ya. Does that look like Frederick Pohl to you? F. Pohl? Lovely artwork. Peter Jones did the art. That is really cool. And we end with Zenith. That's right, I found Volume 1 of Zenith, not at Sentry Box. That's right, $5 at Fair's Fair. Probably sitting on the shelves for a while, because it was tucked up at the top of a bookcase, kind of in the corner, and I probably passed by it multiple times. So when I found it, definitely had to buy it. And once I bought it and I was outside, I saw it was signed by David S. Garrett himself. So that was a pretty cool thing. Sitting on the bus, on my way home, taking a look at this lineup that they have. Forward by David S. Garrett himself. Oh, what is this? Signed by Lisa Tuttle at Mexicon 89. What is Mexicon? Apparently a SF convention in the UK that ran from the late 80s through the early 90s, where the SF authors consider themselves the outlaws of SF, and then said, oh, we are like Mexicans, so it's Mexicon. I don't know if that's a canceled kind of event you'd have nowadays, but they did have tacos available at their convention, so maybe it worked out. To Michael, with best wishes, Lisa Tuttle. And yes, you guessed it, there's more. Time of the Tree, signature, Robert Hallstock. Death Ship by Barrington J. Bailey. That is Barrington J. Bailey's signature. He is my second favorite author of SF right now. This alone makes me very happy. Colin Greenwood. Colin Greenland. Andrew Stevenson to Michael. Storm Constantine to Michael. Love and Light. Look at Storm Constantine's signature. That is one fantastic signature. I wish my spider crawl looked like that. No signature by Gary Kilworth, though. How sad indeed. And no signature by Ian McDonald. Double the sadness. Will it end? Nope. We have Elizabeth Sourbutt to Michael. No Brian W. Aldis signature. Maybe he wasn't there. Maybe he was in lines for some gorditas. But that's okay, because we got William King to Michael. Best wishes, Bill. The Bridge by Christopher Evans to Michael. Very best, Chris. Not the worst signature I've ever seen. Definitely better than mine sometimes. I don't bag my books. I think I should bag this one because I don't know how much this might be worth eventually. But first, books are meant to be read. I want to read it before I bag it. And finally, ending this whole thing off, what I believe is the most important book I have had on my SF journey. That is 100 must-read science fiction novels written by outlaw bookseller himself, Stephen E. Andrews and Nick Renson. I bought this back in April. I've been using it as a checklist to see what I own, what I don't own, and what I really want to read. This is still available on Amazon Canada for any Canadians out there. I believe it's $11. Buy it. Give Steven some royalties. It's so fantastic. Highly recommended, especially for authors you might not have heard of. Associational books. adaptations on film and TV, definitely get yourself a copy of 100 must-read science fiction novels published in 2005. Not as out of date as you may think. To me, it was yesterday. To you, maybe you weren't even born, and this is a 5th printing. Definitely recommended.
And what a fantastic lot, I should say. I'm really so happy with Zenith 2. If you guys have any ideas about what I should do to protect my books better, especially the ones that are signed like this, let me know down below. That being said, how I came to know a lot about like my golden age science fiction, it wasn't actually through books. I was reading when I was young, and I was currently reading Orphans in the Sky by Robert Heinlein. And the first story in it, because it's a fix-up novel, is called Humorous. And while I was reading it, I realized, I know this. I know this story. Everything. And then I remembered, oh, that's right. I know this story, not because I read it. Heard it on the radio.
We attribute the success of Rucker. Who can save mankind?
Adventures in time and space, transcribed in future tense.
Dimension X.